Hey there! Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 268 is titled Brunch Inspiration with Eric J. Are you a flutist frustrated that your instrument doesn't accurately represent your artistic voice? We hear you. Not owning an instrument that will showcase your musical abilities and let your creative voice shine through can be frustrating. Let us help you change that. At the Carolyn Nussbaum Music Company, we have a team of flute specialists who have been working in the industry for decades, and they have the knowledge and the skill to help you find your dream instrument. They have a wide selection of piccolos, flutes, low flutes, and head joints to match your creative needs. To help you find your perfect instrument, call the Flute Shop at 972-985-2662 to schedule your flute trial today. Or visit their website at fluteforyou.com, where you can check out their instrument selection online. Follow the Flute Store through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter for the latest news and updates. The Carolyn Nussbaum Music Company is truly your one-stop flute shop. Hey, 360er. So how are you? I hope you are well. And I am sitting down with the one and only Eric J., who, as you know, is my husband and the audio engineer of Flute 360. We were having brunch about 6 hours ago, and we got so inspired over eggs, strawberries, and pineapple juice that we thought that conversation over the kitchen table couldn't be just for us. We really wanted to have you be a fly on the wall, peek in, see what we are talking about because it relates to you. We know that you right now are thinking about career changes. You want to be this flutepreneur. You want to feel really confident on your stage. And Eric's story about pivoting really is inspirational, and it can give you a lot of aha moments for you and for your story. So, hey, Eric, thanks for being here.
Hi, Heidi. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, you're welcome. What's really cool, and this is the 360ness, a lot of 360ers, you don't know this, or maybe you do, and I just want to remind you, Eric is your other half. He's my other half in life, in marriage. He's my partner, but he's also my business partner, and he's my best friend. So I want you guys to see him as your business musicpreneur buddy also. He's on this journey with me. He's coaching me along the way. He's mentoring me along the way. And he knows about y'all's lives. He knows about the goals that you have, the hurdles that you go through, because I talk about you guys all the time. And he is rooting for you just as much as I am. So I just wanted to share that because you have been on the show quite a bit, Eric, with your tech skills and things like that. But for me to pick your brain about your pivot and for your paradigm shift going into being a full-time audio engineer can really shed some light for the flutepreneur out there. And so we thank you for being willing to share that story with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. I don't think it's far-fetched that I started out majoring in music business. And right when I left and graduated college, I didn't have a job. And I was searching, and for what, 6, 7 years?
Yeah, it was easy.
6 or 7
5+
years.
years.
And it's not like there wasn't a job. It was just my own self getting in the way. And that was really it. And for those 6 years, I was working in a grocery store. So trying to support us, right?
You did.
Like we were in Louisiana. We started out in Louisiana, right? You were in grad school and I was just working and doing a lot of audio stuff at home, like for my own, I guess, my own inspiration. But I wasn't working in audio. And that really, really brought me down. So I could imagine that's why I said it was not far-fetched for somebody who's got a flute degree, maybe in performance, and they want to do something with it. What is it that they might have to do to do this? And like I said earlier, it was myself getting in the way, and I had to jump some hurdles.
Ooh, I like that. Interesting. And you are definitely not alone with that thought process and those feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why we are having this conversation, because this all started over literally eggs and strawberries this morning.
Yeah.
And
Breakfast.
I said, oh my gosh, because we talk about business. And sometimes like it's really fun to talk about it over our breakfast, lunch, dinner. And other times it's like, okay, stop. Let's be husband and wife. But this morning it was really inspiring. I was like talking to you about where my people are, how I can help them. And then you get jazzed up because you resonate so much with the 360ers and their stories because it's your story. So even though you are a trained audio engineer, a guitarist, the story, the hurdles, the pivots, the paradigm shifts, it's all the same. Whether you put a guitar in your hand or a flute in your hand, the stories align to some degree.
Yeah.
So let's go back. We graduated college in 2007. Don't look at the wrinkles under my eyes. And you fast forward 5-6 years, we are in the 2012 realm.
Yep.
And that's where you start getting these jobs.
Yep.
So let's not go there yet to the fruits of your labor. Let's go into like 2010, 2011, at the end of that season where you said, being a manager at a grocery store, working the night shift, we never saw each other.
No.
Ever.
No.
So you're at the end of this season, and at what point are you like, hands up in the air, I'm done. I'm so tired of working in an industry that does not bring me joy. I'm not passionate about it, and I'm so done. I want to change. I want to do something in music with my music degree.
Yeah. It's probably just getting tired and doing the same monotonous thing. You're not excited about it. You don't rest. I mean, I was working overnight, so naturally the body wants to sleep at night, not during the day. And of course, we're married, but we didn't really know each other. Like, hey, we're married, and then he works at night and you work during the day, or you go to school during the day. And we were like totally apart.
We flip-flopped.
Yep.
And this is something we've never actually said in 5 years. I taught from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. flute, adjunct, music theory, music history at the community college, did nonprofit work for TFS, taught 50 to 60 flute students, and I taught every day, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And when I got home around 8 p.m., that's when you were packing your lunch, having cereal because you just woke up, packing your lunch and doing the night shift from about 9 p.m. to 6, 7 in the morning. And then I was leaving as you were coming home.
Exactly.
That was our life for the first 7 years of our marriage.
Yep. And then the weekends, we would try to hang out, and I would just fall asleep early because my body was used to sleeping at that point during the day.
Don't even remind me of that.
But that's all to say, it was miserable for me. I didn't enjoy it. It was not anything that was exciting me to even move forward in the audio. I was just kind of stagnant. It was just sitting there, but I knew I needed to do something because I didn't want all that to go to waste. And so then what happened was Heidi was very active in the music world, and she got wind that there was a position at FBCK,
which was our church.
Which was our church, yeah, the First Baptist Church Keller, and then they needed an audio help. And they naturally, because you were a part of that, they naturally were more curious about you and who you were married to, and you just said, Eric does audio, and they're like, oh my gosh, we need some help. And eventually, over time, I became the audio person for that. I was like the media associate there. So I did live sound for the church, a lot of audio work, a lot of video editing for them, and then taking care of all the media stuff. So I was like right in there. I was very excited, but it was part-time. So I was finally in the door of doing something I really enjoyed doing, but it was part-time for a long time, for a good 4 years. And then finally, on the 5th year, it became full-time. But then what happened, Heidi?
I don't know. You tell me, Eric.
Heidi decided to go get her doctorate degree.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to leave this job.
Well, let's put a pin in this.
Yes.
That's the juicy details later. But let's backtrack just a little bit, because I really want to push and feel this pain a little bit more as being the manager of a grocery store.
Okay.
So you are, like you said, I am providing for my family.
Yep.
It was a paycheck. You had health insurance. You had, it wasn't the best, but it was a 401k account. It had all the bells and whistles of, oh, I'm a newlywed husband and I want to provide for my young family. But the salary can look nice, but you were beating your head against the wall and coming back day after day, night after night, shift after shift, feeling unfulfilled. You were not in your field.
Nope.
And like you said, you were not using your skill sets, your talents, or your degrees.
Nope. And there's no way working in a company like that do they even look at your education and move you up. You just have to work from the ground up and you move forward. And eventually you're in a cycle where you put in the hours and you get the seniority, then you finally move up. Like they don't consider your education at all. So there's like there's no jumping to the next level there, really. It's just.
So even if because you didn't, like young Eric had no incentive and no desire to be like higher acting manager, tier 2, tier 3, whatever. That was just not in your heart.
No, I just didn't care about that at all. That didn't excite me. Even if I made twice the amount of money I was making, I still wasn't excited about it.
So what was going to get you excited about the work to get your hands on something every day, day in and out, for you to go, yes, I am in my zone of genius. I'm in my element. What did that mean for you?
I had to change the way I thought about things.
And yourself.
And I had to change myself. I had to literally, it's so weird. Podcasts changed my life at that moment because I started listening to a lot of audio podcasts and seeing how they were building a business around this. And I started just looking for other jobs to do. So as I was working at the grocery store, I was working at the church too, because it was a part-time job. So I was like 1 foot in and 1 foot out, but my moneymaker was working at the grocery store, but I needed more in order for me to totally jump 2 feet into audio. And so I started looking for other jobs, and I found something on Indeed. It was local. A young security software business owner wanted to build a podcast. So I was like, hey, I listen to enough of those. I know how to do that. And so I was like, maybe I can help him. So I went and applied for it. And his name is Wade Danielson, and he hired me. And he was younger than me, and he was very inspirational. This guy had so much knowledge, and he would speak his mind about business and what he thought about education and all this. Not negative stuff, but just on how he would say things like, my business school failed. My business school failed on me, so I just kind of went off and started my own business. He was going to school for business, but his business school failed. And he built his own business. And he said, all school is really good for is teaching you how to be a good worker. And that right there is kind of one thing that just stopped me in my tracks and said, wait a minute. I'm just taught to be a good worker going to a college, And literally, if you think about it, and I was like having these flashbacks of like, yeah, you know what? It might be true. They're just teaching you how to be a great worker, you know? But that's not to say that all higher education is not worthless. I mean, you do have to know how to write emails properly and draft up letters a certain way. I think that's all my education was really, really worth, was that. And besides going to music school, that was a lot of fun for me, and learning a lot about the theory and such. But to build a business, though, that inspired me. So that right there was my paradigm shift. That right there changed my mind. It altered the way I thought about it. So now that plane wasn't going in one direction, it was altered by like 1 degree. And, you know, when you put 2 parallel lines together, they're parallel, they'll go parallel forever. But if you change one of those parallel lines by 1 degree, over here at the beginning, they're very close together, but further down the road,
oh, yes,
they're going to be very, very far apart. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the metaphor that he taught me, was this is going to change the way you think. This is going to change your trajectory.
That's amazing.
And so then I got back to you and told you about all these things I've been learning. And you're like, Eric, that's the exact same things I've been telling you every night. But I needed to hear it from another male. I mean, that was just my thing. I needed to hear from another male who was about my age, who was walking the walk, who was doing it. I mean, I would go to his home, bring all my equipment, set up, and we would record, and then I would tear down, and then we would just sit there and chit chat about it. But I needed to hear it from another male. Not that I didn't value what my wife was telling me. I needed to hear it from somebody who was of my contemporary, in order to like it just to all sink in, and like finally that sponge wasn't dry no more. It finally was soaking up that knowledge properly, you know? And I don't know what it was about learning from him. I mean, he was, even today I see him. I mean, we don't talk very much, but I surrounded myself with people who were doing things that I was inspired to do. So then like, what do they say? Don't surround yourself with idiots, or else you'll be like the 5th or 6th one. If you're hanging out with 5, you're going to be the 6th one. So you got to hang out with people who are doing and walking the walk. And so the more you're around them, that's going to rub off on you. You're going to be inspired by their words, and all of a sudden you're doing things similar to them. I mean, back then I was just still a grocery manager and a hired hand for an audio job, but now I'm a business owner. So down the road, I'm like Wade in kind of a way where he was owning a business. He was a startup business. He had like maybe 15 employees in his office. I'm still working toward that. But his learning was, he had changed his paradigm way early in his future too. So if I didn't meet him, I wonder where I would have been too. I mean, that's not to say that my education wasn't a part of that. My family wasn't a part of that. But that paradigm shift was real. You just add up all of those ingredients. 1 + 1 + 1 is going to be 3.
Yep. So you had the degree. You had me rooting for you on the sidelines.
Yep.
And saying the same thing, essentially what Wade was telling you.
Yep.
Right? But then the last ingredient was him, and he was a godsend, because just even me as your wife listening to you, I know, like, going back 8 years to that young Eric and fast forwarding till now, there is not probably 1 week or 1 month that goes by where you don't mention what an impact he had on your life and your career and that paradigm shift.
Yeah.
He was a huge inspiration for you.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing you say, and I want to highlight this for the 360er listening to this, is Eric went to Indeed. He was seeking out opportunities to use his skill sets. Now, going back to that and searching that out, you didn't necessarily know how that was going to pan out, but you still put yourself out there to try something. Because if you wanted to get away from that pain of being a grocery manager working the night shift, you knew you had to do something different to get a different result. And then you said you surrounded yourself with people who were walking the walk that you wanted to walk. And they say, you know, take this with a grain of salt. You guys know I'm all about kissing it, keep it simple, smarty, all of that jazz. talking about, who you surround yourself with, they almost say like I will put myself in this situation, me, if I want to grow in my business as a flutepreneur, I need to be the dumbest person in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I need to be the one who knows the least.
Yep.
Because now I am surrounding myself with people who are 1, 2, 3 summits ahead of me, who can show me the way.
Yeah.
And the way they talk, the way they perceive themselves, the way they perceive others,
Yep.
the way they think and structure their business.
Yep.
They are going to start transforming my mind and the way I speak, hold myself, and conduct my business.
Right.
And that's why I say go to SBAs, Small Business Association meetups. Go to community outreach events. Go and network with people, because that's exactly what Eric was talking about. Between going to the website, Indeed.com, surrounding himself with the Wades of the world, and coming into connection with my music network to get that part-time audio job through the church, all of these things were happening around the same time.
Yep.
And then at some point you had enough of those gigs where you could start letting go the grocery job.
Yeah.
Now, here's the twist in the plot. Eric finally gets a footing into these doors. Things are picking up for him. He sees himself differently. He is owning the fact that he is an audio engineer.
And I want to say before we go any further there, for those 6 years, I had that dry spell of not working in audio. I couldn't even call myself an audio engineer. It was me, like I said, I got in my own way. Now, if I had the gumption back then to call myself an audio engineer, things might have been different. I could have been like suggestively telling myself I am this, and I could have changed that for myself, but I couldn't even call myself that because I felt like you had to make money supporting yourself in order for that to be your profession, to call yourself that.
Interesting.
So don't hesitate to call yourself what it is that you want to be. Suggest that to yourself, and then you'll slowly start becoming that.
That's why they do like the manifestations of I am statements.
Yeah, exactly.
And even talking about yourself in the future tense, even if it's a position or an opportunity that you don't have quite yet, you can start saying, I am blank. Even if you don't really wholeheartedly believe it right now, if you start saying that to your subconscious enough times, it will start to pick up and meet you where you want to be.
Yes.
I am healthy. I am wealthy. I have a 7-figure business where I am generating and bringing in several different income streams in and out of my business.
Right.
You may not be there or have that yet, but if you start saying that and making that to be in the present for you and for yourself, then you are going to start owning that identity.
Right.
And the more that you see yourself in that way, then that's going to have weight in your being. Then you're going to be able to go out more confidently and say, wait a second, I did an internship at U of A with Wiley Ross. Yeah. I am an audio engineer. I have a degree in music business. Yeah. I've recorded my own songs.
Right. Yeah. Now that's no longer the truth for me right now. I do happily say, yes, I'm an audio engineer.
Well, yeah, because now we are like 8 years past that.
8 years past. Yeah. Yeah. I'm able to, like, it's audio that feeds my face now. And I'm very proud of that. So that makes me very happy. So that really changes a lot of things for me right now, though.
No, but I appreciate you bringing that 360 to that space of where you were in that season. Right. Because for you to say, these were my fears. This is how I viewed myself. This is how I didn't view myself. Right. And these ingredients, going and seeking out opportunities through Indeed.com, Upwork.com, pulling the Wades into my world, pulling in the church opportunities into my world. By gaining those experiences and those opportunities, did it not, correct me if I'm wrong, did it not then feed your soul for those creative projects, but then it started to change that identifier for you, where you could say, I am an audio engineer, right, because of those opportunities.
Right. And this sounds a little bit cliche, but it's like it made like whatever you thought was impossible possible. Right? So like your wildest dreams coming true. Like, oh my gosh, you can work like this, and you can work from home and be financially stable. That kind of life. And you're like, oh wow, I didn't know that was possible. You have to almost believe it ahead of time in order to start getting that too.
Yeah.
And before then, I couldn't even fathom that. I couldn't even imagine that even being possible. So
you're not wrong, because when I kind of meander through the different conversations through Reddit, Flute groups, Facebook groups, TikTok, and I notice like comments on musicpreneur, music business clips, flutists will flat out say, what you just painted, Eric, for my flute world, that sounds great, but it seems too good to be true.
Right.
And it's our reality.
Right.
We have been working for ourselves for quite a bit of time. And it's almost like pinch me. I get to work with you, my best friend, in these 3 different companies, and we get to mold and shape each other day in and day out, and we get to learn from each other. And we get paid to do what we do best.
Right.
Teaching flute, editing audio, doing live sound. It's really fulfilling.
Yeah, and that's not to say, though, I mean, I studied music business. My dream is to own a recording studio, like actual physical recording studio. I don't own that just yet.
But
it's in the works.
There.
It's getting there. That would probably be my retirement business, where I have built a studio, I hire a young buck to be the engineer, and I can take away from that my retirement. That would be my dream right there. I'm working toward that.
Yeah. And that's your 5, 10, 15-year goal.
Yep.
And we're still working towards that. And that's exciting to have those goals in front of us.
Right.
So we have something to work towards together.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we did indeed. I know we've kind of literally like diverted the conversation at least 2 or 3 times when it came to like one of the aha, or not even aha moments, but like one of the moments in the pathway for you to be that full-time musicpreneur.
Right.
So we're getting the jobs, we're getting the gigs, everything's going great. And then God literally whispered on my heart, DMA.
Right.
And so I felt really strongly in my being that that doctoral degree was right for me in that season, which meant you had to put aside all of the things that you just built up in Fort Worth to move to Lubbock.
Right.
And I can't thank you enough for that still to this day. I would not have that degree if it wasn't for your support. But it was the silver lining.
It launched me into even more of manning up to getting these responsibilities taken care of. And that meant get more clients, work to building this business around us, because there was no other churches hiring an audio engineer there, because it's a smaller town. And we looked, there was absolutely nothing. And I had 6 months. So I got to work on Upwork, finding clients. By the time we left Fort Worth, I was making a whopping $600 a month from audio work.
Yeah.
On the side.
Yep.
And what is it that we just went with it, we prayed about it, and we left, we moved to Lubbock, and then boom, within a month.
Your clientele list
was filling up more than I could ever dream. And I would wake up every day just so happy and thankful. I had so much gratitude that I was doing what I was doing. And I even have to walk out the door. All I do is just drop you off at the front door at Texas Tech Music School, and then come right back home and go to work. And I was just elated with the amount of work that I had. And I was just so thankful that I was doing what I was doing. And I'd write a figure on my a little card and have that look at that figure every single day. It's like, this is how much I want to earn just doing this.
I am making $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
I am making $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then those figures would change.
Yeah. And then you just change it every year. Every year. It sounds almost woo-woo, but it wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of things happening. We had to put a lot of things in motion here, like in the physical world. And then in the spiritual world, you had to go tell the man upstairs, this is what I need to happen too.
Yeah.
I need your help with this.
Yeah.
And what kind of walk do I have to have in this life that to make this happen? Slowly and surely it will unfold. At least for me, that's how it worked.
Yeah.
So.
And walking in faith.
Yep.
And I think God will honor that if you are being obedient to the call that he has over your life.
Right.
And him saying, hey, Heidi, DMA.
Right.
Now, if we just got up and left and we didn't like meditate on that and pray about it and make God a part of that decision making,
Right.
then it could have gone really south.
Right.
But having faith that he called us to do something and that he was going to provide on the other side of Texas, even when we didn't know how we were going to pay the bills, he still showed up for us.
Right.
And that's the part where I know you get goosebumps when you think about how God worked in your business, even from the early stages.
Yeah. And then it was just me being self-employed. I was an independent contractor through a lot of different ways. And now it's totally different. What we built now is we established an S Corp, an LLC. We had to learn a lot of business stuff, a lot through YouTube and a lot through a lot of friends, And now it functions totally different now. Now it's a real business, and now it's like put into motion in all different kinds of ways. And we're still learning. We're still building that plane to fly. What did they say? Building the plane as it's falling through the sky or something like that?
Well, no, it's a great analogy because like it's so opposite to how us flutists are trained.
Right.
You know, here's this analogy of building a plane. You know, you get your sheets of metal, you get your nuts and bolts, you get your wings, you get the seats, you get the glue and the tape to put the airplane together. Obviously, I'm an engineer, right? And you put this plane together, and then you get the best pilot, you get all the seats filled, and then you can fly your plane.
No,
but
that's
that
not
is
how it works.
The opposite of business.
Yeah.
You are literally flying a plane that is a framework.
Right.
It's a bare skeleton of what a plane could or should be.
Right.
It's not even fully built, but that thing has taken off, and you better hold on to dear life, and you are building it as it's going
Flying.
up through
Yeah.
the sky. And we talk about this a little bit more through my episode with Andrea Fisher, if anyone is interested in that.
The same happened with the Red House Productions website.
Yeah.
Our clients were knocking at the door and the website was still in construction. And they're like, where's your website? We're like, it's still in the works.
We don't have one. It's kind of there, but not really.
We have a templatized version of it, but clients just look coming through the door. It didn't make any sense because it's like, it
feels backwards.
Minimal viable product.
Yep. MVP.
That was it. Yeah. And, or not even that. You just start putting it into motion and, you know, yeah. So it's just, all that's to say is if you're looking to make a change, you need a paradigm shift. Surround yourself with those people who are doing what it is that you want to do. And eventually those doors, that know-how, all these things that you want to be like or desire to have in your life will unfold by association. And then giving yourself those skills too. You have to learn from these folks. You have to read the books that they're reading. You have to listen to the podcasts that they're listening to. You have to make yourself uncomfortable in ways you never thought to in order to get there. But if you're just going to sit there with your instrument sitting in your closet, it's not going to just fall in your lap.
Now, books are great. Podcasts are great, or else I wouldn't be here giving out valuable information to my tribe. But to play devil's advocate just a little bit, Eric, and I know you agree with this, business, it's not just theoretical. You have to, at some point, take action. You have to start sawing the wood.
Right.
You can read all day long about carpentry and building a house, but you will not really truly learn about carpentry and building out that building if you don't start acting and start doing.
Right.
So that is another thing that is, air quote, very opposite to music training. Get in the weeds, start throwing the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And it's going to be a messy process, but that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that you and I have tried in business that
Didn't work.
fail. It just fail. Like, well, we can't work with this type of agency. We can't use this type of software.
Yep.
We shouldn't work with this person because they have a different view than what we have. Their goals are different than ours. So a lot of things that we tried with partnerships and stuff like that didn't work, or
they did work.
They did work. Yeah. And it didn't matter because you're swinging that bat and you're going to hit something out of the park soon, but you have to swing the bat.
Yeah. And that's why I said at the top of this conversation, like, Eric is my mentor and coach on the sidelines for me and what I put out through and to my 360ers. And that's something you tell me all the time. And that gives me and brings me so much comfort. When something doesn't work for 360, I try a class, I try this, whatever, right? You're like, yep, keep swinging. Yep, keep swinging. And you always say, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'm like, why? It failed. And the A-type perfectionist flutist comes through, and I look at the result of failure. And you see it as you didn't fail. You've been swinging and swinging and swinging your bat. At some point, you're going to hit that thing so far out of the ballpark, you're going to be like, I'm glad I took all of those swings.
Yep.
And that's something that gives me a lot of hope and motivation. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am swinging. And so that's what I tell my students all the time. You know, this is the full circle. This is the 360ness. Focus on the task at hand, not the result.
Yeah.
You have no control over that result.
Right.
Things will happen.
Right.
But you got to show up. You got to give yourself the best shot of making that work. And you learn as you go.
Right.
And you keep tweaking, keep editing, and it gets better and better.
One thing I want to wrap up with is you have to go alongside somebody to keep you accountable for this kind of stuff. And inspiration, they say, lasts, couple minutes, 8 minutes at the most after
Couple
you're
seconds.
inspired. You're inspired. You're like, yes, I'm going to do it. And then all of a sudden you walk away, you forget, your whole day passed by. And then the next day you're like, oh yeah, I remember I was inspired, but I'm going to go back being comfortable again. But if you are working with a coach, joining an accelerator program, or being a part of something that's going to keep you accountable, that is going to, you'll find your results. Like, that's going to push you over the edge and being like, okay, I'm going to be a little bit brave here and try something different.
Yeah. And putting people and the right people into your orbit to make that happen.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful segue. Thank you. And we really do need to wrap up because I am 5 minutes late to a flute lesson. I'm so sorry, Natalie. But thank you for bringing that up, Eric, because you're right. You do need the right people to walk alongside you and to cheer you on. And this is not a pitch. This is literally unplanned. Eric totally set me up perfectly. He passed the baton off to me beautifully, and I'm accepting the baton and extending that baton to you. The invite is real. It is genuine. And if you are that flutepreneur wannabe and you are on the sidelines of your career and you are afraid to step into your lane, to build out your path, and you have no idea where the heck to even start with the Flute 360 Accelerator program because it's built for you. It's built for you to thrive through your music career, your artistry, you as a person. It is so 360-esque. It's something I'm so proud of. And we are meeting this October 28th, 2023 from 11 a.m. Central Time to 1 p.m. Central Time. I will provide the link in the show notes below, and I hope to see you there. Thank you, Eric, and I learned so much from you, and I really appreciate you carving out time for us.
You learned something from me?
Yeah.
Really? Really? I'm just kidding.
Well,
you're welcome.
No, thank you. And you guys have a great day, and talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Let's talk about flute.